So before we go any further, I'll just explain a little bit about Photoshop itself. So we've got a bunch of menus down the left side over here, and anywhere where you can see there's a little triangle on them means there's more than one option. So for instance, if I hold my mouse button down, I'll find a load more of them pop out, so I could have in this case a gradient or a bucket fill and so on. Along the top here I get a set of information menus which are to do with whichever thing I'm on. So at the moment these are strictly linked to a gradient fill, but if I chose say a move tool, I get a different set of tools up here. So they're called contextual menus. Okay, over on the right hand side I've got what's called panels. Panels are really interesting because you can change them around to get different things, and this is where we're going to start with. You need to make sure that you've got the panels on the right which are useful to you. Now to find out what's in there and to get rid of them, so if I didn't want this layers panel, I come over here, drag it out and close it. I actually do want to use my layers panel, so in case my layers panel's not there, I'm going to go to window, and anything that I want to turn on I'm just going to click. So I'll go down here, there's my layers, I'm going to tick it, there's layers, and I can now drag it up and I can put it into this panel. I'm also going to open up one called history, which we're going to see later on, and that'll be a really useful one to use. We've already got our color swatches and things like that loaded up. Oops, I dropped that in the wrong place. So if I put that back with the same bunch of them, they all come together. Layers is where we want to start. Layers is the most important one. So at the moment we've got one layer, and the layer can be thought of like sheets of paper, or even better, sheets of glass laid over the top of each other. So at the moment I've only got one of them. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to open up a second one, and I'm going to click, and now I've got a layer 2. Now what I'm going to do with my layer 1 is I'm going to rename it by double clicking on it, and I'm going to call that background. I'm going to come up to layer 2 and I'm going to call that one color. Now doesn't look like anything's different on them. They're basically transparent at the moment, and this is what this checkerboard effect means. It means that that's completely see-through. I want to put some color into this layer, so I've got a background color for my magazine. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on the color layer, so I can see that I'm on the color layer now. I'm going to come over here to these tools, and I'm going to find the one that says paint bucket. So you can see it looks like a paint bucket. If I click the button now, it's going to drop whatever color is showing in this little square here onto my page. So I'm going to change that just to show you. I'm going to pick a bluish color, say OK, and I'm going to drop it in there, and it's gone blue. Now if I decided I don't like it blue, I can easily change it again. I can go back in, I can change it to a different color, say OK, drop it again. Now that's a plain color. I can also do something called a gradient color. So if I come back here, and instead of choosing my paint bucket, I choose my gradient tool, you'll see now I've got a change of menu structure at the top. If I click here, these are preset gradients, so these ones have already been made. If I choose one at random, that orange one, and I drag across my page, it puts the gradient on. But the good thing about this is wherever I drag is how it puts the gradient on. So if I want a gradient that goes on an angle, I can drag on an angle. If I want one which goes from left to right, I can do left to right, and so on. If I want to make my own gradient up, I just double click up here, I get the gradient editor to open, and you can see the one I was putting on is made up of an orange, a yellow and an orange. There's 3 colors in it. If I decided I don't want this orange to be orange, I can click on it, click on the color, and then in my color picker choose a new color. So if I go for a kind of bluish color, say OK, now you can see that it's going to be different, and this bit in the middle actually changes where that color changes, so where the yellow starts, where the blue starts, and so on. I can change any of these to any color that I choose to by coming into this menu system. I can even go to color libraries and have a much bigger choice, and these ones are all different colors down here. I can choose whatever I want, and when I've chosen the color I want, I click OK, I click OK, it adds it to the gradient. Now when I drag my gradient tool, I get the new colors coming up. So there's a lot of ways you can make your background look really interesting. We'll go for a fairly simple one, I think. We'll leave it like that for now and see what that looks like later on. In fact, no, I won't. I'm going to take away one of these colors. I'm going to get rid of the yellow altogether by dragging it out. So I've just got a blue and a pink, and I'm going to drag myself a gradient we'll go with that one. We'll see what that one looks like in a minute. So before I go any further, I'm going to save what I've done. File and save. Now you can't save often enough. You need to save regularly to make sure that if anything goes wrong, you can go back to the last saved version.